Please be advised that the opinions and views expressed are that of the individual dancer and not necessarily a reflection or representation of the host. Any advice given in the podcast should be taken as friendly conversation and not professional help. All video content has been provided and approved by the individuals and should be viewed under viewers' own discretion. Let's get into today's podcast. Hi there and welcome to the Dancer's Perspective podcast. Today we have the lovely Hayley and Lachy joining us for the very first episode to discuss their perspective of having a long distance relationship while abroad on a cruise ship. So hi guys, welcome to the podcast. Thanks so much for joining me.
Hello, thank you so much for having us.
Afternoon.
No worries. Well, why don't we start with you guys introducing yourselves and then we can go from there.
I'm Hayley. I'm a professional dancer, ex-professional dancer now. I am now a fitness, nutrition and mindset coach for dancers. But yeah, on my journey to becoming a dancer, I did 5 years of full-time. I worked really, really hard and yeah, got to go overseas and do a couple of contracts on cruise ships. It was the best thing ever. It was an amazing experience and definitely recommend it to anyone. But yeah, it's a bit of a brief intro.
Amazing. And Lachy, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I am. What am I? I guess you could say I'm a strength, movement and wellness coach. So I do coaching with all different types of people, both professional athletes and just like everyday athletes, just everyday people. And I really just try to get people treating their health like a bit more of a job, like taking themselves seriously, looking after themselves. And often that comes from looking at everyday habits, how they move, how they sleep, how they think, a bit of everything to help people, live a better life. So that's what I spend my time doing.
Yeah, awesome. And how did you guys meet? Let's get into that question.
Yeah. So do you want to say that?
Who are you asking?
Oh, whoever wants to answer.
No. We'll let Hayley take this on.
So surprise, we met in a gym. At the time, I was working towards really wanting to get a cruise ship contract. I was in the gym a lot, and I also was like in my spare time going to like the fitness studio at that gym and practicing my ballet to try and keep up my technique. I was in a bit of an obsessed mode at that time. I was really, really focused. And yeah, I would always see like a little head poke through the window looking and I was always wondering who that was. It ended up being Lachy, and he wanted to like learn from me. He wanted to learn how to stretch better.
That was the line.
Which he still claims to this day that it isn't a line, but it probably was. Everyone thinks that it was a line, but he is the type of person that he does love to learn and he loves to upskill and stuff like that, but it was probably a line.
I hit a set of front splits this morning, pretty close to the floor now, so
it's probably more
there you go.
than I am at the moment.
Oh, there you go. That's good. No, amazing. Well, how long were you guys in a relationship before, Hayley, you got the call to go on for a contract?
Yeah, so before I met Lachy, I was planning to move to London. I had a feeling in my gut that if I went to London, I would get a contract. I don't know why. I was just seeing myself go to auditions in Melbourne again and again and again. And, I was at a point where I was getting through to the end of some auditions, but wasn't hearing anything. And I was like, there's got to be another way. There's got to be more that I can do, because I don't feel like I'm doing enough to work towards my goals. So, yeah, tried to save up lots of money, had a few roadblocks in my way, and then, met Lachy, and I was like, well, I really like you, but I have a plan.
I have places to be.
I have a plan. I've got places to be. If you want to be a part of it, sure, but if not, sorry, I've got stuff to do. So, that was 3 months before I moved to London. and we stuck together, and I was there for 2.5 months. After 2.5 months of being in London is when I got my contract offer. So so that was awesome. Then I spent 5 weeks back at home before I went off on my cruise ship. So the start of our relationship was barely any time together, actually.
Yeah, it sounds very, very quick that everything happened with everything.
Yeah.
Lucky, I might get your perspective. So you meet this great girl, you keep poking your head in and seeing how she stretches and all that kind of stuff.
So I think that at the time, so my career as an athlete, I had to retire when I was about 20 I was a pretty high level like thrower, so discus, shot put, javelin, and I had to retire when I was about 20. And so my body was very stiff and rigid. And a lot of my efforts as a coach and trainer had been getting people to move better. I didn't say it like that then, but that's where I was starting the journey. And yeah, when you're surrounded by people that probably move pretty poorly, and then there's a like pre-professional dancer that can hit the splits, do kicks, do like all this amazing stuff. It was very intriguing. So yeah, I used to watch sometimes, and then one day I plucked up the courage to go and ask her for some assistance, kind of learning what she does, and so it was funny actually when Hayley joined the gym and when I started as a coach, I actually got Hayley as a lead, so from the gym. And and so I shot her a message and she ghosted me.
Oh, Hayley, playing hard to get, girl.
Yeah. So another trainer at that gym, he actually approached me in the gym and said, hey, let's do some sessions. So I was going to get back to that text message. I didn't know who the text message was from, but it was actually from Lachy. But yeah, I never replied because the other guy just said, oh, let's do some sessions. So it's funny how that works. I was meant to be his client, but it never ended up happening.
We wouldn't have ended up where we are if she
Maybe
did
not.
reply.
Who knows?
Right. It's quite a crazy story that you guys had. It was quite really very special.
Yeah.
Very, very special. So what about if we go through, so Hayley, you met this guy, and then Lachy, you've met this great girl. Lachy, what was your thought process? Like, you've just met her, you've just started dating, and then now she's going to London. Like, how on earth did you think this is going to work? Like, talk me through your emotions around it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I was in a phase of really starting to get myself together from a really broad perspective. Mm-hmm. And yeah, when I met Hayley, and she sort of mentioned I forget how long we were dating, but she's like, oh, I'm moving to London soon. And at the time, that was no return ticket. So it had turned out being 2.5 months, but she just said until I get a contract. So there was no return date on that.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
So yeah, I think that it was really just like a deeper feeling like this, like a deep knowing. I'm like, I feel like this person's really genuine. Like it's not like didn't feel like I was being strung along. It didn't feel like there was any, it felt like there was genuine sadness that we just sort of started to hang out, and then she was going to move away for an undetermined amount of time. So I guess it was, we kind of just agreed that it's like, well, I don't really want to if I don't really want to not wait, I'm happy to wait in a way. That's okay. We'll figure it out.
Take it as a how it comes kind of thing, and go from there. Yeah, nice. And Hayley, was that the same with you? You're on the plane, you made yourself on the plane, met this great guy. You're like, bye, I'll see you maybe soon, maybe not soon.
Yeah, and it really made me not want to go. A part of me was like, I could just cancel that plan and just stay in my comfort zone, and I'm happy now. I could just, stay as I am. But I knew that if I didn't go through with it, I was gonna regret it. And I remember booking the flights to London. I remember like having this like panic attack because I was like, I don't even have like any money. I don't know how I'm gonna make this work.
I'm just going.
And yeah, I lied to my dad telling him how much money I had because I didn't have enough, but I just knew it was gonna work. And oh my God, imagine if it didn't. It was, yeah. So I was very lucky. I made sure it made it work, but yeah, it was crazy. But it taught me that I needed to just go and do it.
Yeah, good. So you went to London, you auditioned, and then you got the contract.
Yeah.
And then how did you think about going to tell Lachy, like, right, so I've just come back and I'm here for like 5 weeks, but then I'm going on a contract again.
Yeah.
So, talk to me about, did you guys have like a talk of like, okay, so like, are we going to be exclusive? Like, how did you manage that whole scenario?
Yeah. So, I mean, we had 5 weeks, as I said before, together before I went off again. I think in that time, that's when you got me that promise ring, which was nice.
Very nice.
Parents were very happy about that. But, yeah, and we were just like, yep, we're going to do it. Like, it sucks right now, but we're going to get through it. And, you know, we were also talking about potentially having him come and work on board. Sounds like it would be easy, but it's actually a lot more complicated than that. So, you know, I spoke to heaps of people on ships and stuff, the ship, to see if it was possible for it to happen. But unfortunately, it wasn't really possible. It potentially was, but it would mean that we'd have to be on separate contracts before we were on together contracts. Which
So you couldn't just go straight away together on the
no, yeah, unfortunately. But yeah, we made sure that we took opportunities to see each other. Like, Lachy actually came to see me when I was in rehearsals in LA before I joined the ship for just a weekend. It was like 3 days, which was kind of crazy to fly all the way to LA for 3 days. But
he's committed.
Yep, and then he also came to visit me on the cruise ship as well for 10 days. So at least we got to see each other for a couple of times that first time. But yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And Lachy, in your perspective, so she's just come back from London and she's now like, okay, bye. See you later. I'll be back soon.
Yeah, it was an interesting experience, but at the same time, I feel like if I was to say anything except like you go live out your dreams, like, you know, like I wouldn't be doing myself like a service. Like, I do crazy stuff with my career options and how I choose to live life. And for me, that support for someone else, like following, what I do, I think it comes with, believing in them and supporting them and helping them live out their dream and ensuring that, there's safety in a relationship before, I think we spent the first 12 months of our relationship. I think we'd spent something like 2, maybe 3 months of it together.
Yeah, right.
So when that happens, you've got to pretty much get serious pretty quickly and be like, okay, is this going to happen? Yeah, let's try it, you know. Otherwise it's just wasting your time a bit, I guess. Yeah,
it sounds like you guys also really had that really mutual respect and, you know, just wanted the best for one another from the get-go, which I think is amazing. Like, really, really, testament to you guys. Like, that's very hard to come by, I think. So great job, guys, for doing that straight up.
Parts that it's over now.
What do you think the challenges are when you were on the ship? So when you were on the ship, how did you navigate, even the small things, like talking to one another? Was there a time zone difference? Did you have set days? What are the challenges and how do you overcome them?
We talk to each other pretty much every day on the phone. There was a time where we usually always talked. You know, sometimes things happen and you've got to do stuff around that time, so it wasn't always possible, but we always tried our best to stay in contact and keep talking and making sure we're communicating. Keep up to date with what we're doing in life and right. Do you want to add anything to that?
I think that it was just routine. Like it was just a pretty like early on we just decided that, or not even decided, but even from London, like we would just check in pretty much like, you know, each day, messages, call if possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that that's the reminder. Like I find it really interesting sometimes talking with people, if it's particularly with like younger people now that I'm working with them. If I say, hey, are you available in like 2 weeks for a session? And then I put it in my calendar, but then some people will, I don't then follow them up.
Yeah.
It's like they're just like, oh, like people overthink that maybe that's not happening.
Yeah, right.
And so I think that, maintaining contact, just, it's not like it's a problem. It's just like that's the thing that you do, just like staying in loops. I think that just, it's just every day. It's, it's really nice to have that sort of comfort time.
Yeah, like the constant like communication with everything and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, awesome. And like, so you guys are very fresh in your relationship. The honeymoon phase kind of was like, got like a little bit disrupted with going away, coming back, going away. Yeah. How did you like maintain like the spark in the sense, or like how did you, keep that really like young love honeymoon phase alive and all that kind of stuff?
Like when Lachy came to visit for a weekend, just things like that, making that extra effort was really special. I personally struggled like way more in the second contract than the first one, because the first contract was pre-COVID, the second contract was post-COVID. So we had, a couple of years of living together, and that's when, we started living together and everything. So I think as much as it was really painful before, it was even more so the second time around because we were living together. So it was a pretty big jump to go from living together all the time to nothing. So really struggled with that, but it all worked out in the end.
It all worked out. That's good.
We also decided to not see each other at all during that second trip. So the first time I came and saw her in rehearsals, and then I jumped on one of the tours or the cruises for 10 days, which was actually the last cruise before COVID hit. That was the last cruise where everyone was like allowed to intermingle.
Yeah, right.
And then the following cruise, I think the rules were that staff and passengers weren't allowed to like coexist in the same space.
So that would have been really bad.
Yeah, right.
So we were actually really lucky with that. Yeah.
Yeah. But the second one, we just
because we were planning on we were planning on having a trip afterwards and things like that, and also with COVID there was so much unknown, so we were just like, let's just stick it out. It turned into 8 months. It was supposed to be a 6-month contract, turned into 8 months. That was pretty tough, that second one.
Yeah, right. Like that's really hard. Like COVID was hard enough just being at home, like let alone being on a cruise ship and trying to make a relationship work that is still very fresh and everything like that. Like, how did you? Was it anything like tactical that you're like, right, no, we have to do these things to make sure like we're going to get through it, or was it just more so you took every day one at a time and just did it that way?
Yeah, probably more just one day at a time. I think because we just both wanted to speak to each other every day, so that's what we did. Yeah, well, that's all we really could do. There's, nothing else that we can really do. Yeah, right. So.
Yeah, right. Well, what about if we go into like when you were on that first cruise ship contract, and Lachy, you came on board. Did you guys get to see each other much? Like, how was it like with Hayley working and then trying to catch up just with you guys without trying to mingle with guests or anything like that? Like, talk us through that.
Yeah, so he came on, as I said before, like just before all those restrictions were put in place. So he was able to, he came on as like it's some sort of like guest of us, of me. I don't know, I can't remember how it all works, but anyway, he was on not as a normal passenger, as like as a staff person's like passenger.
Yeah, like
I guess.
family friend type.
Yeah. So he was able to, luckily, it wasn't always going to be available, but there was a spare guest room that he was able to take, which was really, really good. And I just stayed there with him for the 7 days for the cruise, so that was good. So I was obviously allowed to stay there, and at that time we were allowed to go up and to the passenger buffet and things like that, which we did most of the time. Just when restrictions went in place is when that changed. But yeah, so there was like a show reblock that cruise that I remember that I was like, damn it, because I wanted to spend as much time with him as possible. But other than that, like, you know, we didn't really have too many duty. We didn't have any duties or anything that we needed to do while on board. All we had to do was the shows. So, you know, during the day we were able to go out to different ports and together, and even sea days we were able to hang out together and do stuff. So, yeah, it was only really at night when I had to start getting ready for shows that I had to keep himself company. But
keep yourself occupied.
Yeah.
I came to most of the shows, so.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So a typical day would be like you guys would spend the day together, and then Hayley, you would go in the evening, like afternoon, evening, and then
start putting makeup on and everything and getting ready.
Yeah, awesome. And Lachy, how was that experience for you, seeing your girl on stage and being like in the world anyway?
Pretty awesome. I hadn't really seen her perform until then, because she was in London. And then before then, she was really just focused on training and auditioning. And so I hadn't really seen her perform yet. And then all of a sudden she's doing, a show most nights, and like front and center in front of 1,000 people.
Yeah.
A few hundred,
I think it was 800 people.
800 people. Like, and it was pretty, it was packed every night. So it was pretty awesome. And really cool to watch also seeing how skillful it is when, if I watch the same show a couple of times, the different slight deviations in what happens, and like how quickly everyone adapts, and it's like, it's really cool.
So with the 2 contracts, knowing what you guys know now, what would you tell your younger self getting on a plane, or Lachy saying bye at the airport? What would you be the heads up to you guys?
I don't know if there is any heads up. Like, those airport goodbyes were horrible.
Yeah.
So tough. But I guess just like know that and trust that whatever's meant to be will be, and I mean that's all you can really give. It's not pleasant. It's pretty horrible, but you have to do what you feel like you're meant to do, like what you're passionate about. You need to follow that, because you'll live with regret if you don't. So it's meant to be.
And Lachy, any advice you would give yourself as a heads up, not being from the industry or anything?
I think first off, just being like a younger man at the time, I think that a lot of the skills that it requires to be like masculine and to do well in life, I think that it's a skill set that takes a long time to develop. And in that time during the cruise ship, like, it was time for me to just focus on becoming a better person and focus on building business, building myself up, building up my skill set, becoming wiser, and even like being able to spend time with yourself is a pretty important skill. And I mean, it's not the most comfortable thing, but I think that if you are looking at taking a relationship seriously, then there's going to be times when things aren't perfect, things aren't ideal, things like you will have highs and lows, and we were exposed to that really early. And so when it came time to actually spend time together, it was like, oh wow, like, you know, this is
so cool.
This is amazing. Like, we've built all this bond without actually being next to each other without having that, even in like in the same space where you connected, and then to be able to do that, like it's hard to let it go for the like second or third time on the second contract. Like it is tough, but I think that if you're in a position where you're actually looking for like that longevity in a relationship, then yeah, you have to commit as much to the other person as you do yourself. Like, you know, it's both ways. And yeah, I think that there's like definitely, there was always plenty of talk on the cruise ship of like, you know, different things going on. But you know, like Hayley would always bring like peace of mind to me, right? And I guess for me it was just like, well, I just didn't have like, you know, I've been single before, like I just didn't do any of that stuff, and I just focused on myself because I just didn't need to go and socialize heaps or go out, or like, you know, there was no pressure to like try and meet someone because it's like, you know, you're locked down. So it was a pretty cool it was a pretty cool opportunity in a way.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys, you know, not only did you have to commit straight away, but you really strengthened your own selves in who you were as people first. And I think by listening to you guys, like having that and then giving the respect to the other person to be able to live their dream, I think having that balance of, you know, yourself and then giving your partner space, I think that's very valuable, and I think would be something that really helped you guys. Would you guys like agree in that sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And we still like help each other in our own ways now. Like we both have a business and we both try and help each other in whatever way we can to help them have the success that, you know, they deserve and really make a difference in the world. So yeah, I guess we're still pushing through that idea.
Yeah.
I definitely think that skill set where we are people that work for ourselves and generate our own income off our own back using our skill sets, it gets hard sometimes. But being able to know that you've already been through hard things, it sets a pretty good foundation for like struggle that a lot of people are going, like you're going to face struggle in a relationship at some point.
Yeah.
And yeah, being able to always come back to, like, you know, we have regular catch-ups where we go through all, because we have business in the house, like, you know, it's separating business, separating health, separating everything into its different categories so that we don't have like financial stress or business stress or social stress impact the relationship stress. Like, you know, being able to put it all apart is something that, yeah, when you've done hard things, it's easier to have hard conversations.
Yeah, you're really protective of like your time together and your relationship, and not letting external factors kind of run it in a way. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Lachy, you did touch base on that stuff that happens on the cruise ship where Hayley had to give you a bit of reassurance. So, Hayley, I'm going to palm it back to you. Do you want to talk through what Lachy's kind of referring to? Because as dancers, we all have heard like the stories of how cruise ships can be and everything. Is it true what they say? Like, how did you manage that?
Yes, it is very true. And what you're talking about is just like a completely different world when you're on a cruise ship. A lot of people who work on cruise ships have families at home and stuff, but they're away from their families 10 months out of a year. So, you know, obviously everyone's human and like, you know, not everyone can be so
committed.
I guess committed, yeah. Yeah, so there's especially with like the officers and things like that, they are like, yeah, they're around the dancers a lot. They're trying to get their little noses in, and it's pretty full on. I think also because there's like, I don't know what percentage, I can't remember exactly what percentage, but I feel like something like 80% of the staff on board are men.
Right.
So it's quite an interesting dynamic. And yeah, I mean, men work in interesting ways, and they so I had people try and ask me out and stuff, and I would say that I have a partner back at home, and they would say, yeah, but he's not here.
Yeah,
I'm like, what do you mean he's not here?
You're like, but
and a few people like in the entertainment department used to question me and say, like, make me feel like I was the weird one for not wanting to cheat or not wanting to do anything behind my partner's back. It was really strange. It's like a completely different world with completely different values. But yeah, just stuck to being me, and it worked out. But I unfortunately, it meant that I felt sometimes uncomfortable in some situations, like at crew bar and things. So, I was probably one of the first people to leave, if we were at crew bar or something like that. Like I would have fun, but sometimes unfortunately you get approached and
you can read
they're pretty full on. But if anyone listening is worried about that, you just obviously just say no, and it's fun, and you can just move on. And there's people like that all over the world. I think just because of a cruise ship, you're all like condensed in one spot. It just heightens everything in a way. You still do get that in the world anywhere you go in the world, but yeah, just on a cruise ship, it's just heightened and a bit more intense. But yes, it's fun.
Lachy, did you ever think that would also be a thing? Like, did you have that expectation of that as well, or was it quite a shock to you as well?
I think that I was warned of like what the culture's like.
Yeah.
But I would also like hear these stories as they came up. So I think Hayley was also trying to process them as they happened, and so especially when there might be people in like that she's familiar with that might be disagreeing with maybe that moral decision. So maybe having that conversation with them isn't as easy. I got to hear a lot of that sort of like as it happened, and it's quite stressful. I mean, I feel like it's hard enough for females these days, and so when it's when there's a massive what's the word, like gender gap in terms of just like pure percentage and amounts of people, I think that it would be pretty stressful. Like
And how did you go managing your own emotions? Like obviously, like she's on the ship and she's processing and talking to you about these things. Like, was there something that you had to do back home as like your own person, being like, nah, I trust her, all that kind of stuff? Like, it sounds like you got a really strong relationship anyway. But were there things that you really helped you with that process?
I think that it's probably more of like a philosophical thing. It's like, I trust you. I don't have any reason to doubt you. And I think that there's times when, sure, like there's insecurities that happen, like we're all human.
Yeah.
But having worked through a lot of that, it's like, well, I can only control what like I'm in control of. And so for me, as I mentioned, it was very much about focusing on myself, focusing on my own development and building things and working on business. And that's what I prioritized in that time. Like, and I think like I didn't have any reason to like question Hayley or, not that I didn't question her, but I just didn't have any reason to like doubt her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that that's definitely something which it depends on the person, and it definitely depends on the dynamic and where you are personally at in your life, because a lot of people don't survive long term. We live in a fast world, and so it as I said, it lays amazing foundations for being able to handle stress and being able to go through some tough times together. But if you don't have that resilience within yourself and you haven't built your own character to withstand that stress, then it'll be harder for other people.
Yeah. No, of course. Well, at the end of each episode, we like to just summarize, whatever we've talked about. Hayley, if you have, say, for example, the dancer listening who's just about to go on a contract, who met a great guy and she's wondering, how the frick am I going to make this work? What is the 3 things you would tell her? And then, Lachy, I'd like to come to you with a guy in a similar position, being like, I've met this great girl, she's just about to jet off. What are 3 things that you would recommend to them that would help him? So if we can do it that way, I would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. I would just say, as much as it sucks, try to enjoy where you are and what the experience that you have. Obviously there was times of really missing and being quite depressed, honestly, about it. But, I was able to dance on stage all the time, and that was like a dream come true. I was able to see places in the world that I would never have seen if I didn't have that contract. Just enjoying the moment more. And that's probably advice that I would give to myself if I was to go back and do it again. Just enjoy it more. And then also just trust that whatever is meant to be will be. And, if you're really passionate about something and you really want to do it, just do it, because you won't be able to do it again. You'll regret not trying. So just go for it. And if it's meant to be, he'll stick around. Yep.
I love it. And Lachy, what about you? Give me 3 things. 3 things that you would tell a guy that is in a similar situation. His girl's about to jet off, live her dream. What would you tell him?
Yeah, I think probably number 1 is be grateful. Be grateful for the amazing person that you found, the person that's one of the best at what they do, and one that's committed to themselves to stand out amongst so many that try to do it. And so I think that commitment to themselves is a sign of commitment, that they can commit to something. And I think that's an important acknowledgement and gratitude for, also having the skill set to meet one and tie one down a little bit.
Yeah, got the head through that doorway.
Yeah. And I think that would also be paired with, honestly, if I was speaking to another bloke, I'd say, bro, you've got so much work to do on yourself. You've got time, man. Go spend this time figuring your shit out. There's so much that you can do without that. Without that need for I guess social relations that might not be there otherwise. That you've got so much energy to go and build something, go and create, go and work on who you are and what you're doing, and get to build direction in your own life. I think that it creates time and it creates space for you to work on yourself. So I would say enjoy that.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you guys so much for talking through your experience and your perspective of this journey, and letting people know that it is possible, because you guys just celebrated your first wedding anniversary as well.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that too.
Feel like a real adult now.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
No, but I really wanted to thank you, and hopefully we can get Hayley. Maybe we can get you back on again, talk about your cruise ship life and everything like that, and how you managed to go from going on a cruise ship and going into what you're doing now. That would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having us.